All right, and we are live with another PBJ. This is January 16th. How you guys doing?
We're back.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah. I almost came in and said,
flew by.
Where's our homie DK? I hear he may be coming back soon.
Next week? Is it? No, next week? Yeah, next week I think I'll be around.
All
we'll be
back
in studio next week.
All right.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Steve, hold down the fort. And shout out to our boy Ashu here today, filling in, doing a great job. What's up?
I noticed it's 12:05. I think we officially started almost on time, but 5 minutes late. And I was going to propose a new thing to try to get us started on time. What if we create a pot for every minute late? You have to contribute to the pot. So if the live stream doesn't start at noon, whoever's not sitting down owes the pot.
I like it. I think Max will like it the least because he'll owe the most. Yeah. And then I think I would. There's
bro. I think just last week alone, your pot is the biggest by far. And then that's just cumulative.
Additional, but I should get extra bonus points for my early morning flights in January and December.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that was your decision to go be a crazy Iowa State fan, which is a good decision. But
and then by the way, they lost Tuesday. I don't know if you saw that.
Seriously? No, I didn't.
I just thought we were going to win every game this season.
Yeah, y'all were on fire. Who'd you lose to?
At Kansas.
Well, I mean,
we got blown out though.
I mean,
sucked.
Kansas
played like Kansas.
Yeah,
as opposed to Kansas.
Yeah,
losing like they have this year.
By the way, Kansas always has a very dark place in my heart. 2008, the year we had D-Rose, should have won national championship. Freaking CDR teabagged Kevin Love on the way there, and then
went to OT. Right?
Well, you did. In fact, we were up by a lot. Missed all of our free throws down the stretch, and Mario Chalmers, I'll never forget.
Yep,
hit that three.
I'm sure DK remembers that too.
Yeah,
remember the overtime game, DK?
Beautiful. Just couldn't enough of that. Yeah, really.
Hey, actually, this is a good idea from Matt. So shout out to Matt, who's always in the chat. He says the pot should go to the viewers since we suffer. That's actually not a bad idea.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
Good idea.
So now we need to vibe code the collection tool, the tracking and collection tool. And I think Max is a new vibe coder as of just a few days ago, I think. So Max, this is a payment app. Is perfect to kind of sharpen your chops.
He has some environment issues.
All right, so straight up. So we're gonna jump into vibe coding in just a minute because you homies have been working on this community, which I still have not seen. And I am making the effort. I finally was like yesterday, I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to get off zero. I'm going to join this damn community. I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it. I'm going to do it. And I will say this, I'm still excited. I got to list like 15 fucking ideas, bro. Every morning I got new ideas. But the reason that it is challenging, and I learned to program on Replit, interestingly, in 2018. I was one of their first users. In fact, their second engineer was my roommate. I love Replit. But I mean, programming, man, just like the patience. Oh God, the patience. Like, it's not my personality. Different people got different strengths, different weaknesses. Like, just like, oh, fuck this variable environment, or like you missed a comma. And then, but the reward was so great. I stuck with it because I did the Justin Moonbiddle bootcamp. I shipped some like CLI stuff that could interact with Bits' API. And I built my own little apps because my desire to understand Bitcoin was so strong. I really, really, really wanted it. And so I suffered through the horrible pain of programming for years. And then I was like, fuck
this. That's how you develop patience. That's literally, you have a goal. You understand what time preference is, right?
But you need to have that goal.
Ethos, yeah.
The problem is, like, to me, it's like there's opportunity costs, right? Like I'm working on this amazing essay, which I got to tell you guys about. And like, we'll talk more about the GPU marketplace stuff idea. Like, I think I see something like the biggest company opportunity of all time in that direction. And so it's opportunity costs. Like, I'm working on this great essay thing, or I can go and fucking bang my head against a computer. And so when I used to do Replit, I remember every day I would sit there and I would program until I couldn't figure something out. I would rage quit. Literally, I don't have patience for computers. Rage quit, throw the computer, come back the next day, and then it would click and I'd be like, okay, I just took some time away. And literally that was the pattern every day. Rage quit, come back the next day, it would click.
Yep.
And that sort of happened last night. I thought we were finally at the point where you can just give it a prompt. I'm still trying to make my meme generator. Guys, I've been asking for this for a year. Finally, I'm trying to take matters in my own hands, get the meme template, post it, get paid. But fucking Replit and MDK, shout out to Nick. He's going to help me. We got the secrets. It was super easy, but there's something funky happening. There's always something funky happening. So hopefully by next week, we'll figure out what that is. But that's my story.
Well, I love that you got off zero because I think it's really important. And I got another friend that he's actually extremely non-technical, never programmed anything. And I did a 1 hour session with him in Replit, and actually took an idea that he was excited about,
Right.
and I vibe coded it for him and got it started. So we spent an hour, and he was like, "That actually works." He couldn't believe it. He was shocked.
Yeah.
He knows nothing about DNS or how to deploy a website or something. And he has now a functioning website of his idea. Now, I helped get it started, but he saw it's unnecessary. Like my role in it is totally unnecessary. He can do this himself. He didn't believe that, but now he does.
Well, I may still have to come back to you or one of the other kind gentlemen in our chat to handhold me through that first horrible variable environment setup. Nick's trying to figure out what the fuck's not working within
like where you manage your variable. And stuff. Yeah,
it's just the frustration. But if you can get me to that point where I get that first app done, by the way, this is what I was telling Nick in our chat, and I'll say this to anyone working on vibe coding, it's that magic moment. Like if you can reduce the friction from 0 to pain to 0 to fun, and you can just show something. And this is why I think, you know, whether it's going to be from the community, which I know you guys are going to talk about, or from MDK putting this out, or Replit, just like, here's like, assume that I'm like completely retarded, like a 5-year-old or whatever. I want to just get from 0 to something. Like help me get from 0 to anything. And I think the floodgates come down.
Yep. And I think it's not that hard, but I think right now when you see Rep, it's like, what do you want to do? And then it goes through this like whole planning phase and design phase. And there's, and then the thing that comes out isn't necessarily exactly what you want.
I mean, it is
a mind shift switch.
Well, I think it's both, right? Like the planning and learning from you guys. Like, for example, when Matt Belez, I watched him do the vibe code here at Builder a few months ago or whatever. Like, okay, or maybe it was Max from Lexi. Like someone showed me like, you need to like say, here are the docs, explicitly look at the docs. Okay, that was a good tip. Like there's a lot of those things you can learn. But to me, it's the freaking troubleshooting. It's like, the thing that I hate with programming is when it says error and you're like, well, why is this error working? You feed it to the LLM and it doesn't give me so it's just like troubleshooting. Like what is the environment variable I'm missing? Like stuff like that. Anyways, we'll get there.
A few comments. I mean, first of all, I feel you. Well, because I am going through the same. I've gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm only a couple steps ahead of you. Like
you're definitely ahead.
Matt and DK are like way ahead. So, but I think you realize your 2018 experience and even before that with programming.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. You'd have 1,000 cuts to get from 0 to something. Just getting the dev environment set up, like pre-Replit, was like 1,000 cuts, and then once you had that set up,
learning the command line,
thousands more cuts while you build your software applications. And that's why number one, you have to be patient, you have to be skilled programmer, and it takes you a year plus, like in the past.
Totally.
Now we are on the cusp of making it exactly what you want. There's still, you know, when I talked about my MDK experience, I think it was last week or recently on the show, and there were a couple hiccups I had to get through. They weren't even MDK necessarily. It was more like the Replit agent using MDK. But
that's probably what this is.
But you know, you saw my questions in that chat group. I had questions and had to sort of quote debug it, figure it out. But debugging and vibe coding is like very different experience than hand coding. So I encourage you to keep at it, because what we can observe with DK and Matt Belez and other people we've seen, they've leveled up their skills.
Right.
And we'll talk about some recent applications they've been working on, and just I'm in awe of the iteration cycles that they're going through. They like I basically say, here's a bug, here's a problem in chat,
right? And
like before I can even type the next sentence, it's like, okay, push change, check it out, fixed, added. You know, it's like it's unbelievable.
So the inspiration is there. I would say it's building for me, right? Like it's still. To be honest, like, I mean, like I do have ideas around this. I would say the inspiration is still like, obviously in 2017, 18, really wanted to understand Bitcoin. Like you can ask my friends back in those days, I didn't own anything. I was sleeping on a floor. All I owned was Mastering Bitcoin from Andreas Antonopoulos. I was upset. You remember, that's when I met you. I'm not at that level of vibe coding yet. But what I will say is, I think DK, so eventually the product will hopefully get there and AI models will get there. So like product solves all of it. But like, I cannot say enough whether whoever this needs to be, Replit, MDK, the community, like if you just offer, if there's a way, and I'm going to hit you up, DK, but like specifically if there's a way, it's like, hey man, I really want this to work. Just fucking frustrating. Like click here to schedule like a 15-minute session or just do like live, like office hours every week. I think we're still in the each one teach one phase. And
I agree. Pair vibing and learning through that.
I've talked to a lot of people who have gotten their start kind of getting something up of a prototype where they become convinced, like they're not really from the software world, but they become convinced that this thing is actually a good idea and they like it. And then they go off and hire somebody to basically like tutor them in vibe coding.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned something like this in our chat,
Yes.
which to me seems like it's a real business opportunity. Is like
Huge.
Get something started, but then actually now that I feel enough confidence that it's kind of in the right direction, hire like a professional vibe coder to like really grind through the details.
Yes.
And that should be a worldwide market, should be payable in Bitcoin or whatever people want to accept. Like,
and we've talked about this idea on the show for years, and it's actually related, I think, to the compute marketplace stuff we talk about later as well. But like, I will be your first customer. Like, if you're a really good vibe coder, I swear to you,
this,
huh?
Yeah, that,
yeah, this exactly.
Right.
I've got like 15 fucking good ideas, and
well,
I'll never have the patience to
how to
polish it.
bootstrap that marketplace.
Yes,
is don't build the marketplace.
I don't
you
want to
have
build
the
a
idea,
marketplace.
you have the money.
I did it last year, and
also,
by the way,
side,
I gave 100,000 sats.
You're the
to
demand
Lemon.
side of the marketplace. You don't have to build the whole marketplace out. You're the demand side. Now go find one supplier and see how you guys work together. And then the next demand that comes, be like, hey, I've got a supplier. And then once you've got too much activity to manage, then go build the marketplace.
So I think I'm looking at the supplier on the screen right now.
Well, more broadly though, what if they're like a community?
I know,
a curated community.
If only.
In fact, we're gonna do a first on PBJ.
Let's do it.
So people have been listening to us for 50 plus episodes.
Of course they have. Every single one. Never missed.
Everyone.
Some people have. We're going to do something new. I don't even think you know what we're going to do right now.
Well, I mean, I guess all a little.
Well, you know what we're going to talk about.
You read the title.
I'm in the dark on this one, guys, because I can't get my fucking environment set up.
By the way, the bar for this is higher than just setting up your environment.
Dude, I promise you, my ideas are fucking gold. I ain't got no question on that shit. You know what I'm saying? My ideas are gonna get used to.
Yeah.
No, so everyone's like antsy to hear what is our first. We're launching this community live on the show.
Let's go.
We were gonna like announce it on Twitter earlier this morning, and they're like, let's do it on the show.
All right.
So hopefully, okay, Matt Blez is listening.
Live announce.
So and we'll give a lot of love to Matt Belez because this is his baby.
He's been up since 4 a.m. getting the shit ready.
So the Spiral team can go ahead and tweet this out from I think there's some communication, but we're announcing a new community called Flint.
All right.
Right. And it's
based in Michigan.
We'll have to think of that. Well, we'll have to think about that angle. It's called Flint, and to no one's surprise, it's about vibe coding. It's kind of a culmination of like what we've been chatting about quite a bit in the show since February, March, something like that, almost a year.
Really,
right?
since forever, since the early days.
Basically, the whole show. Yeah. We've talked. I'm sure we could run an AI engine and it would tell us what percentage of the time speaking, but I'd say like 15 to 20% of the time at least has been on this. And we've talked about some of the cool apps that Matt Belez has built and DK has built. I'm still a bit of a straggler. I have high aspirations though, and so does Max. But what we've learned is that like, yeah, anyone can do this. So it's really just like develop the inspiration and committing the time. Yeah. And so we hope one hope with this community is like curate a group of people who can help each other.
Yes. They
can give each other feedback, test out their apps, encourage with positive support, critical support too, but in a very, loving way.
Your shit sucks.
And then also gain inspiration. Like I see, so you're Mr. Idea, right? So you'll be building something. I'm like, that's great. And it'll help me ideate and think of new things to build.
100%.
So it's called Flint. It's a curated group. So there'll be an application process. People can sign up. We're going to start small. Like we want to set a high quality bar. And Matt and DK already have produced apps that are a pretty high bar. I'd say, these apps are not like world changing apps, but what they're simple. They're simple and focused, but they're polished. And I think, and we'll show a couple, one which has not been announced or revealed that DK's worked on. And I think it's super cool. And actually Max will like it.
I hope Mika's going to make an appearance.
No, it's not Mika.
Because I beg to differ about world changing apps. If ever there was a world changing app that needs the
one we're announcing,
GPU market.
it's a G rated app. This is a G rated app.
Did some thinking, DK.
In fact, we'll have to think about, are we going to like have ratings for like parental ratings on our apps?
My other app that I've been working on is not quite as G rated. It's not Mika, but it's also it's maybe not as family friendly as
the one we're talking about on the show is I would give it a G rating.
We can also have some Nostr badges, like so for whenever DK drops an out, you can have like the NC-17. And then, if you guys remember that rating.
But let's go. Ashu, do you want to go ahead and show the website? So we're not going to spend too much time showing the website, but for those watching the show instead of listening, we'll walk you through what this is about.
It looks really nice.
It's
by the way.
flint.dev, FLINTS.dev is the website. And as you can, I think the branding's pretty obvious. Like with this community, you're at the beginning of a journey building applications. It's all about building applications. And
it's a nice subtle touch. Like the art is like black and white pen with orange sparks. So really nice aesthetics.
Yeah. We also, this is the Presidio Bitcoin Jam. People that listen know that we talk about Bitcoin a lot. We care about Bitcoin a lot, but also they know the show and what Max, DK, and myself represent and care about is more than just Bitcoin.
Right.
We care about AI. We care about building really compelling applications.
Yep.
Some of which might incorporate Bitcoin, others might not. And that's also inherent in Flint. And we've been very intentional about the messaging and copy. Like we don't hit you over the head with Bitcoin. We want people, just like at Presidio Bitcoin.
Yep.
And just like in the show, what we talk about, we want people who would not identify as Bitcoiners to participate. Like we've created the builder meetup, monthly meetup here. We invite and welcome and want people who would not identify as a Bitcoiner to come. They're just interested in building compelling apps. It's the same way with the Flint community. Before I go on to with navigating through this website, it's launching from Spiral, which is the org I run. And Matt Belez, who's on the Spiral team, he's the man behind Flint. He had the conception of it. He's built this. We'll talk about actually this website too, and vibe
nice.
coding.
Yeah.
Conceived of the idea, executed on the idea, and really drove it. DK and I have been helping out, and DK's done some compelling apps that are part of it. But shout out to Matt. Why is Spiral doing this? Spiral. Our mission is about making Bitcoin everyday money, everyday currency. And one thing we've realized, we can build tools like Lightning Development Kit and Bitcoin, BDK, and these different tools and protocols. That's all very important foundational work. But you still need demand for Bitcoin payments. And so we've talked about in the show a few months ago, the Bitcoin merchant community. Well, that's an initiative from Spiral to help catalyze retail payments. This is an effort by Spiral to catalyze payments from new types of applications.
I love it.
Right. So that's why we think it makes a lot of sense for this to come from Spiral. So we're not going to walk through every word on this website, but Asha, if you can guide us down to Firewood, that'll be like
super nice.
This will show the gallery of apps. Basically, the concept here, you have to apply. Once you're accepted, you can join a private Discord, and that's where we will, help each other, support each other, and share ideas and information.
Yeah.
Within that private community, there's also a members only website or portion of this website as well. There's a kindling section, which is very early apps. So the kind of apps you and I might build, Max, could be published there. Well, I slam myself too. So
if I get beyond the environment,
so any member can publish. There's a low bar to get into kindling, and we're seeking feedback, and it's sort of alpha testing, right? Then once, and then other community members can star. They kind of vote, but it's sort of star, like a thumbs up, like we like this. This is ready to go public.
Yeah.
It's a signal. And then, if there's enough support and if the author of the application wants it to go public, then it gets published to Firewood. So you can go ahead and click on view Firewood, please. And let's make sure we're sharing this.
The shed. That's what you were talking about.
We can't see it. DK, can you see the Firewood?
I can see the Firewood. I can see 2.5 apps.
Okay.
At the top.
Cool. Yeah. Scroll down a little bit. Yeah. So these are the 3 apps that we feel have met the bar so far.
Nice. I know two of them.
Impressionista and Bitcoin Lockbox have been public. They've been public. We talked about at least the last one on the show before.
Yeah.
The shed is
just
sick. Being revealed right now. Asha, can you click on the shed and share that screen? And then I'm going to turn it over because it's DK's baby. Tell us what this is.
Yeah. All right. So we're looking at a screenshot of the shed. The shed is a web application that I made, starting maybe about a month ago. And I've just been iterating on it daily. So I'm kind of grew up playing classical piano and kind of reading music. And I also got into jazz, but jazz is kind of this whole other world where it's not about reading music and it's about like understanding a lot more details of chords and, extensions and alterations and various kind of jazz scales and stuff. And I've always known it in my head, but I've never had it in my muscle memory very well. So I wanted to build an application that helps me use what I learned is possible now is web MIDI is a MIDI format that is available in like Chrome. It's not supported by Safari, but in Chrome and several other browsers where you can actually connect your I have a physical digital piano that I connect to my computer via USB. And then I open up this app and I just do the MIDI connections at the top, you can see. And then I have all of these practice modes. And so a simple practice mode, it's not even super jazz oriented, but just intervals. So, I was listening to a YouTuber who was doing some jazz instruction. And he's like, here's a bunch of chords you should be able to get to, if I prompt you with a chord, you should be able to get the answer within 2 seconds. And I said, oh, that would actually be a fun little game. Like prompt me with something and see if I can get the answer in 2 seconds, or how long does it take me to get there? And can I improve my timing over time? So intervals is like a simple one. If I were connected right now with the MIDI keyboard, I could click start on there's a little start game just below what we can see in the screenshot. And it would give me a 3, 2, 1 countdown. Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't know we have the actual application up, not just a screenshot, but we don't have web MIDI connected. So don't worry too much, but it would start the game and then it would prompt me and it would say, hey, play a major seventh over G or something. And then I have to play that and it tells me how long it took. So was it, under 2 seconds? Was it 3.4, 5.7? And then it collects up all of my performance of those skills within, kind of I think I have it on 12 rounds as the default for this game. You can those are all configurable too. And then it gives you kind of a performance, almost like, think of it as like my high score on the game today. And so I can keep playing and keep watching how my average timing is improving, hopefully. And it also measures accuracy. So is my accuracy improving? Is my ability to get these things quickly responded to with the appropriate interval or chord or whatever? Are those happening very quickly? And I can just watch it. And I've watched it go from some of these things would take me 5 seconds weeks ago because I'm kind of trying to think about how the theory maps to my fingering. And now I can actually get, basically all of them under 2 seconds because I've been living in this thing. I must have used, I think I built the app along the way while I was using it. And I think I spent, at this point, 30 hours using the app because I actually am like patient zero user of this app. I really care about it and want to use it for myself. But I spent a lot of time. So I figured, okay, this is a good one that we can sort of use as a part of the showcase for Flint. So that's what we got. And I think it's only at the beginning, really. So to me, I could see taking a whole path of further building on this. Right now, this is just a JavaScript front end, but I could imagine having like a server side component so that I could store my performances and maybe even compete against other people who are trying to do those same performances and see how they're progressing and I'm progressing. So it feels a little bit like maybe Strava for piano in a sense, like you're sort of recording your runs and seeing segments and seeing how you perform over time and then seeing how it compares to other people, So I think there's sort of a long roadmap that crazy. I have in mind of things I want to do with this. But this is kind of very, I'd say, probably one of the more extensive projects that I've built so far, but it's still only at its infancy and that it's still only just, you can pull it right off. It's served off of GitHub and we've got the links. If you want to try it, would love to hear if you have feedback and requests, but it's just a website served off of GitHub pages. It doesn't even have a backend yet, but it's still super useful to me. So I thought, let's package it up and put it as part of this community, because it's all the ethos of what we're doing in the community too.
I think it's awesome, and I happen to have a MIDI keyboard, so I'm like, well, I don't know how to play piano, but I'm like, I'll test it out, and it worked like a charm. It worked right out of the box.
Wow.
And I wasn't able to do the exercises because I don't know how to play piano, and it's fairly advanced. But it's once you're actually using it, it lights up, and I mean, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's really incredible. And
I have two thoughts that have jumped to mind immediately. Number one, I kind of feel like I know we've talked about it a lot on the show, but it's one thing to like understand something intellectually, another thing viscerally. Like, this is the future, like in the sense that everyone, and again, something I always come back to, we haven't even seen the gigawatt cluster runs. Like, this is what we're doing with what we have today. This is the worst AI will ever be. Ever. Like, everyone is going to be able to make their own custom apps. That's crazy.
Yep. But real quick, Asha, I think we can get rid of or we can go back to just staring at our three faces.
Yep. And by the way, I'm going to point out one thing on this that I'll reference later is, you see where the orange buttons are, it says 1 intervals.
Thank you.
That's a whole collection of like games, I call them, or practice modes that I put together. But there's infinite number of practice modes in the world that somebody could want to build. And, whatever you're working on, whatever level of skill you're at, maybe you're just trying to learn basic scales or middle C or whatever. So you could imagine a version of this thing that actually uses an LLM to expand itself, because that's how I build the practice modes, is with an LLM. So the app itself could have kind of a chat or LLM, co-pilot or kind of collaborator that could help you customize this piano tutorial to any form of music. Doesn't have to be just jazz. And you could actually expand it to build your own, and everybody else could benefit from everybody else's stuff. So I think it's like, in a sense, it's just a sliver of the future.
Right.
But to really get this going, I feel like every app, I guess maybe the high level thing is, every app you build with AI should also natively assume that others will expand it with AI. And so I think that's not an idea that's very popular yet.
One thing that just jumps out at me immediately, and I'm curious if you've used Bitcoin or Nostr in here at all, but to me, the biggest thing that jumps out is this makes me insane. Again, I already understood this intellectually, but very different viscerally. This makes me so bullish on Nostr, because in this world where anyone can literally speak into existence anything at the snap of a finger, what matters is where all of the identity and data goes to and accrues. And so I'm sure Google and Apple and Facebook and whatever will have their logins and your identity there. And that's fine. And that'll probably do really well. But if you want an open alternative to that world, Nostr was literally made for this. So I don't know how to integrate Nostr more into the Flint community, but to me, this is like all of the people that have been like, hey, Nostr could one day be for all the micro apps. And then we still only really have Twitter clones. And we do have hundreds of little app ideas, but it's all hackers that never polish their stuff. But now, I don't know if you've had this, DK, would you consider adding just login with Nostr?
Yeah, so right now there's not a lot of data persistence, and there's not a lot of collaboration or sharing. So right now I do all of the data persistence in just a local storage, just in your browser, which is not a perfectly ideal thing, but it really works for me, and I really built it for me. But if other people wanted to use it, Nostr would be the natural place to push that. Right now I haven't, I don't know, it's sort of a divergence from Flint, but I've worked on another app in the past week, which is a Bitcoin app and uses Nostr in exactly the way you're talking about, and it sort of doesn't really work without Nostr. So I can tell you a bit more about that, or I thought maybe we'll actually talk more about it next week or something. But
yeah, I'd love to hear, but I want to be clear. That's awesome, and I know there will be certain apps that lend themselves more to Bitcoin and Nostr, whatever. But my point is just if you said this is Strava for piano, right? Forget any special Bitcoin functionality. Right. Okay, I just want to log into this app and see what my friends are playing. That's it. Super, super simple. And it's I could do that with Google if I had that social graph, or Apple or Facebook or whatever. But for a variety of reasons, let's say I want an open social graph, it would be so cool if I could just log in with Nostr. You and I are already friends on Nostr. It surfaces you and just says, hey, here's what DK is playing. Hey, did you know Steve tried to playing something? I was like, I didn't know Steve played the piano.
Yep. And I think if you had that kind of, I agree, it's a good reason to be bullish on Nostr. I think if you had such a thing, and you had the list of who performed the 251 progression fastest, or fastest average time, I think you would end up seeing people speed run just like you do in video games. You see people
course.
speed run to try to be the best, and the world would get better at playing piano
At everything.
because there's like a fun competition that helps. Yeah.
I just want to make this point super, super clear because I think it's worth really stressing. There are like lots of weird, cool new ways to use Nostr and Bitcoin that we haven't thought of yet. And those apps are going to be amazing. We're going to keep watching them happen over the next year. But like for any skill acquisition, exactly what you're saying, the basics of a leaderboard and social graph, which can also be upvoted on that leaderboard based on who zaps you, like that idea alone, just social graph, show me a leaderboard and show me specifically a leaderboard of my friends ranked by zaps, maybe with some web of trust in the ranking, like for any skill acquisition or really anything like that alone is transformative.
Yeah. A couple things. One, I think the best way to see the Nostr stuff happen is just for people to build it. Like, in this community, it's not a requirement you have to use Nostr, but someone's going to lead the charge. I mean, BitChat already demonstrates. BitChat already demonstrates Nostr, so we already have like a great example, but others will be created, and it'll influence other community members. I mean, hopefully there'll be a lot of non-Bitcoiner builders in this community. Most, I would assume, have never heard of Nostr or don't understand it or don't believe in it or think it's a toy or whatever. But they'll then see other applications that are built that are really compelling. And then how did you do that? Oh, Nostr. It's the only way. And that's going to incept them.
And I would even love to see some experimentation. Like, again, I hope one day I get to that level, but I would love to see an app from someone like a DK or a Matt that's like already knows how to do this polish, or maybe Nick or someone from the team, like just to get people's mind going around that. And then some kind of like, explain it like I'm 5 document or like, and I think it's worth even considering a rebrand, not even a rebrand. I don't know how to say this exactly, but like, what if you don't even call it Nostr? You're just like, hey, want open identity? We recommend use these docs. Point your Replit agent to these docs. Oh, what's Nostr? That's the protocol underneath it. It's just open identity.
I think with all of these, with Bitcoin, with Nostr, with all of these tools that help preserve freedom and create more freedom, I think like the reason of choosing it should always be because it does something that you can't do the other way. It's not like, oh, I can buy coffee with US dollars, I'm also going to buy it with Bitcoin. Fine, like no hate there, but it's just the place where it really shines is like, wow, I wanted to send a payment to a 15-year-old in India, and that was not really possible before because you can't have a bank account or something. I think that's where these tools really shine. So instead of telling people, hey, go build stuff on Nostr, just build whatever you want. And if it turns out Nostr can help solve your problems better, we're going to be there ready to recommend it. But like, I'm agnostic. I don't care if Nostr fails if it's not useful. I want it to win if it's useful.
I agree, but I would then issue a specific challenge for people more capable than I am at this point. One experiment I would love to see, and maybe this will be you, DK, for your app of just playing the piano. Okay. We all agree that a global leaderboard and a leaderboard of your friends ranked by who did something with zaps or something like something of like who did a thing, who played the fastest, or who made the most progress, like ranked by zaps or ranked by payments, let's say, right? If someone can find a way, and I think this is what I love about Nick and the MDK team is like their whole thing, it's not about Bitcoin. It's just, hey, accept payments faster because you don't have, I mean, in theory, I'm still figuring this out, but in theory, all you have to do is just like point it towards the docs, get a secret, and you're done. There's no account login. There's no KYC. There's no, it's just like, it just works, right? That's the same with Nostr, because if I say, hey, try, and I would love to see you do this, try building 2 versions of an app. In one, to get your leaderboard, you need to use Facebook or Google or Apple.
Right.
In the other, use Nostr. Now, forget Nostr. You tell me which one actually was easy.
Or Discord. Actually, there's a good, so the way the Flint website works.
And that should be on, we should move that to Nostr too.
Flint's authentication right now is Discord. And we actually didn't discuss Nostr. So I think, Matt, you're listening. So we should talk about,
dog food this.
Nostr. Why not? Why Nostr? Why not Nostr? We are using Discord as a community. There's still not a good community tool as far as I know on Nostr. So that would be one reason. If there were one, then, so again, an idea for this community.
Baby, recursive.
Yep.
And if there is a super talented vibe coder, we could all put up, and here's another idea, pots. DK wants pot. Sorry, a pot. We could all like, imagine everyone could just fund this where it's like, listen, and I'm going to guess the answer for why we're using Discord today is because one, the Nostr alternative doesn't exist, and two, that's not true that doesn't exist. I think Hodlbot has a version, or whatever, but it's probably just not as like good or feature rich or whatever as like the company that's raised hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, which of course makes sense. But like, imagine, I mean, dude, this is so cool for like starting businesses. This is going to be incredible. Where it's like Kickstarter for everything. You can just pre-fund it. It's like, listen, we really want to move Flint onto Discord. It's not good enough. So I'll kick in on, 1,000 sats. You kick in 1,000. All of a sudden, wait a second, there's a giant ass bounty. Now, then you have to figure out verifiability, like who's going to like, whatever. There has to be some judging criteria, whatever. But like, that's huge.
I'll donate 10,000 Bitcoin to Max to Max to get him started with his paid Replit.
I'm definitely not building the Discord thing. Like I will take your 10,000 Bitcoin for my first app. I will get this damn meme generator up and running. That seems like sufficiently complex and good for where I'm at.
It's a great starting point. Yeah.
We need someone of your skill level and maybe someone listening that like, but seriously, like why don't we have a good Discord?
Well, I think
Matt is saying Flotilla.
Flotilla? Is that the name of the Discord one? Like the Nostr?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, but
I haven't tried it lately. I don't know.
I want to make one other meta comment, and I have to say, Matt Belez, if you got that the website going, it looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Like really, I'm impressed. My honest assessment of Nostr and Bitcoin is there's the technical and the hacky stuff, but like I think 90% of our problems it's just for autists by autists, and like we just need designers. We need designers. That's it. Like, I'm serious. Like, I mean, yeah, you need some technical stuff, whatever. But like, and maybe this is something interesting to get the Bitcoin design community more involved with Flint, because literally all we need is people with taste and patience. Because if like, I bet Flotilla, I haven't used it yet, but I bet it's like jank. I bet it's beautiful. I mean, I bet it's a beautiful idea, but I bet it's jank.
But one thing I'd say, and well, first of all, love to designers, and we want more designers involved in Bitcoin. But I would also say with AI tools, you don't have to be, or you mentioned taste. And Matt, I mean, like vibe coders talk about taste,
right?
And you don't have to be a professional designer background to have taste.
Yes.
So I think that's what's important. And now if you have taste and you combine that with these tools, you don't have to be a professional designer to yield a nice result. Like I think, what both Matt Belez and DK have created, and like what Jack's created with BitChat and a lot of other examples are polished, and demonstrate good taste, and none of them are professional designers.
So I would love to hear, and again, this goes to another idea which we really need, and I heard some other people talking about in like normie land, is another massive idea which DK you've mentioned many times: version control for vibe coding. Like I want to see, Matt, how did you get something to look beautiful? How did you do that?
Yeah, I agree that would be good. And I don't know the answer offhand. What I was going to say, the development of that website. I don't know if I have all the details straight, but I have at least the high level. Matt had a web dev do traditional web development to create that website. In parallel, he vibe coded it.
Oh,
I don't know if he ended up scrapping all the web dev or built on top of it. What I definitely know is whichever route he took, all the additions, and we've been doing them in real time last night and this morning, are all him vibe coding. So even if it was traditional web dev got the starting point, it's been vibe coding since. So and like I've found maybe like 10 bugs or problems with it in the past 14, 15 hours.
Yeah.
All of them fixed instantly by Matt and with AI tools. I suggested a few features be added before launch that were launch gating, and he was bound and determined to launch today. So, and he got them done. I mean, it's like absolutely incredible how quickly you can iterate without touching a line of code.
So wait, he's saying design in Figma, trad web dev, vibe coding. So we're not all the way to vibe coding yet, but maybe we'll get there soon.
I think it's like a hybrid. Yeah.
And I will also say, because I had, my website for hivemind.vc. I worked with a designer. It was a long and arduous process. And we found it took a long time. We a lot of that was on me, but we finally got something kind of like up and running. And now he's got me on Webflow, and I hate it. and it's like, I want to make a basic change, and it's like
Yeah.
pushing a boulder up a hill. And I'm already to the point where like, I mean, like just publishing an essay was all, I mean, again, as you guys know, I've established I'm not the patient technical guy, but it was just like, dude, like this is unacceptably horrible. And I'm just going to throw out there right now, if there's some incredible designers with great taste, I'm open to redoing another web redesign on my site later this year. Again, same thing as in, I would love to go to the Flint community, say, here, I got the vision. Let's sit down. Someone that has the patience and the skills, we can work together on the taste. Like, I would love to pay you to do that. So I'm just throwing that out into the universe in case someone wants to holla back.
So a few more things I wanted to mention about Flint. So one question people in the audience might be asking is like, maybe they're questioning the value of it. Like you can already go vibe code. You can go look at Twitter and get resources, information to help out. But you know, I think a successful Flint will be a place where you have peers that are going to level up your game. And they're going to level up your game because you're going to see what they're doing, and you're like, oh, I'm behind.
Yeah, it's already happening. Like,
it's already happening.
I got peer pressure into doing
something. So that's one thing. And then you're going to have a requirement to be part of this community is that you commit to not only building and building a certain pace, but testing and being a good team member and community member. Yeah. So that it's good. And because like myself, I've been lacking in the building. I need to up my game there.
You're the best.
But I'm a good tester.
Of everyone in our chat, Steve is always on the money for testing shit, 120%.
So both are important. Yeah. And there's an expectation, if you're a member, that you allocate time and do both. So you know, there's nothing, when you're a builder, there's nothing better than to have people you know, play with it and find problems, find bugs, critique, but also be like, that was fucking awesome. you know, and like, you know, it makes you feel good, right?
Well, it makes you feel good, but also it's like super critical. And I already say this, even though we didn't get everything worked out because it was a little last minute on my end, but like, just not only so you have inspiration from your friends in a group, but also like people can help you. Like, you know, you shouldn't just sit there banging your head against the laptop. Someone can be like, hey man, you just need to toggle on. You're like, oh.
And then we, you know, and we do, so we want to encourage building early and often and getting simple things out the door. They'll go into the kindling section of the member. And then we want to, but we do want to encourage high quality too, polish, taste. Yeah. And so there'll be a little bit of a gate to make it public. And actually, let me step back. Anyone participating, you own the intellectual property that you build. So Flint doesn't own this. Flint has no liability. Like whatever you build, it's yours and it's on you.
Are we requiring, this is an interesting question.
No,
because like
encourage, but no. Are you gonna say open source?
Yeah, like or Creative Commons.
Yeah. So open source, it's encouraged but not required.
Because I say that because one thing I did see in Rebel that I loved, another feature that we've talked about is the remix. Like that to me is going to be super cool. And maybe there's just like, is it remixable or not? Like you check a button, but like that would be super cool.
So there's there's another product that isn't launched yet that I just started testing yesterday that has a remix feature. Remix makes sense inside of Flint as well. We don't have it yet, but I mean, we certainly encourage that even if we don't have like formal tools to make it happen. Yeah. We'll certainly encourage open source. And you know, anyone not doing open source, I'd ask why in a polite way, like why not open source it, right? And you know, I suspect most will be open source.
Yeah. And a cool idea is if you do have the open source repo, one of the ideas we were chatting about on the other group chat is that you could build a little tool that takes
one without Max.
A link, the one without Max.
Motherfuckers.
I'm
going to get this goddamn app in there.
You could take a repo that is already public and open source, and you could ask an LLM, hey, generate me the prompt that would be required to generate this repo. Yeah. So basically like reverse engineer the prompt, because effectively it lets you remix, right? It says, take this thing, I want to take it in a different direction, but I don't control the repo. So write me the prompt that I would need to submit to be able to have effectively all of this software under my own control in open source. You could continue to keep it open source, and I'm going to add my own stuff to it. So in a sense, it's like remix, you know, like minor step remix, you know?
DK, just hearing you say stuff like that and like looking at you in your cozy Christmas looking sweater, like I can just see a vision right now of like a fire, maybe a glass of hot cocoa, and like, you know, like you and Matt sitting there like vibe coding with DK. I know y'all were already doing this. Like seriously, like the more of like a chance you can, because like, yeah, I would have never thought of that. It's like, that's really smart idea. backwards compatible or whatever to backwards, whatever.
Yeah, like reverse engineer.
Yeah.
From your open source.
So
And
hopefully-
I think that's almost like step one from being able to, like, long term, we've talked a lot about, GitHub for prompts,
Yes.
which is effectively a little bit like GitHub for the process of prompting and iterating. It's not like here's
That's
the
an idea.
final prompt only,
I'm gonna
but it's like bit by bit. But I mean, I think the Flint community is a place where that kind of thing is likely to emerge, because there's gonna be half a dozen or a few dozen people gathered trying to make things, trying to make them better. And we're going to be, I mean, we already share prompts with each other. Like, oh, I couldn't get MDK to work, but I need a little thing. Oh, just, do this little tweak or send this prompt. Like, I've used Matt's prompts before in the past. So I suspect just having like first kind of low tech versions, just paste into a chat group is kind of the best initial prompt sharing. And then we can figure out what product to build around prompt sharing, depending on the stuff that we're just kind of doing again and again. We just want to optimize and improve.
Agreed. And so again, you have to apply to be in this, and we want to start small, set a culture. We'll definitely want to grow it over time. I think we'll also want to have a component that's like public, like helping anyone too. So whether it be members offering up 15-minute windows of time, like you suggested, to help newcomers, that's a great idea.
Technically challenged
in other resources. I think that would be great. We also want the app gallery, like going from kindling to firewood to, I believe the third phase is blaze.
Whoa.
A blaze is when you take something that's like so you basically go from private alpha to public beta. A blaze is when you actually turn it into a real business.
But do you need the pot for the blaze? So
I don't, but the blaze can be done by someone other than the original author too, right? I mean, there might be people who just either they're not in a position in life or don't have the time to build a business, but they love the fact that they can get ideas out of their head into a, public beta state. Yeah. And then they'd welcome someone else, taking the torch from them and creating a blaze.
I love it. And I was kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but also kind of not. So about the pot, like two ideas that come to mind immediately for this. We really need to figure out how to get this off of Discord or whatever, the website, onto a Nostr and Lightning based solution. It needs to be recursive. Like, think about how cool this will be. So again, the big problem for everything on the web, I have so much just going through my head. I mean, this is really inspiring because I can see a vision of the open web exploding again. And it's super awesome and super beautiful and like super important that this stuff takes off before we're all strapped into Zuckerberg's, whatever, cricket eating virtual reality machine. Like, this is important. And the problem though is we're about to experience infinity. There's just going to be so many apps. And the problem is, how do you do search and discovery in a world of infinity? And it all comes back to Nostr Web of Trust and Bitcoin scarce signal, right? This is all the stuff
and brands,
Hacker News.
Like Flint. People, I mean, I'd say like Flint's succeeding if people go to Flint to see the best.
Totally.
And hopefully we look back and these apps that we're proud of right now, we'll laugh at, because
they'll be so bad.
They'll just like a year from now, we'll be like, those were a joke. But now it's like, wow, I can't believe how polished it is, and it was built with no hand coding.
Totally.
Yeah.
But to be clear, what I'm saying on that is I think this is obviously the right way to start, is with like a high bar of taste and community and brand. But my point is, imagine, you've got 3 apps on there. Imagine when you have 3 billion. How are you going to decide which ones to show? And so if this is all Nostr and Lightningified, then you can just zap it. And like, I mean, you can still have like certain tastemakers. You could have like, here's Steve's view, here's Matt's view, here's DK's view. But you could also just be like, here's the global leaderboard based on raw sats and or on Web of Trust adjusted sats, which is a Keon's work on. My point is, this is a perfect environment in which to test the thesis that we can have better search and discoverability with Bitcoin and Nostr. It's amazing.
Yeah. I agree.
And I would suggest I like the idea of getting to a flotilla or a Nostr based solution, but I feel like doing that today,
maybe
if we don't have the right tool, is sort of like going to slow us down, versus let's get to the point where we feel the pain of the problem. And then we find that the aspirin or the pill that solves that pain is flotilla or a Nostr based solution.
I agree. I'm just planting the seed because, as we discussed earlier in the chat, the end game is there.
Yep.
Now, and also just want to
see where this goes. Yeah.
See where this goes. Shout out to Matt. If we can get ahead of things, why not? Shout out to Matt, who's asking me what's the bounty max. The bounty depends on the person, but if you're a really good designer, we could talk about something serious. So,
I was also going to say,
yes, exactly.
Or did you want to comment on what Matt?
Sorry. I just agree with Matt. Like we should use.
I can't read the chat.
That's he just says rather than starring apps and kindling, we should use zapping. 120%.
Yeah. Agreed. And well, related to that comment and what you were just saying, what I'm already seeing by people building apps in Flint is we're going to generate a feedback cycle to Bitcoin protocol devs, Lightning, Arc, Spark, Bitcoin itself. Because DK is trying to build stuff. And he's like, baby. Steve, how do I do that? And I'm like, I should know. It's frankly embarrassing. I don't. And I don't have the answer. And I don't know if there is an answer today. So it puts pressure on me to then go work with protocol devs to be like, okay, here are their product requirements. Here's what they're trying to achieve.
Yes.
How do we do this today? And if there's an answer, great. I'm going to tell DK and then he'll build it. And maybe we need to improve the dev UX or the education or whatever. I think that'll sometimes be the answer. But we're also going to, I think, sometimes have the answer where Bitcoin protocol does not support it yet today.
So we have to fix it.
And we got to fix it. And, I sort of been beating myself up like, oh, I should have been doing this years ago in my role, right? But I do think, to be a little
the
fair to me
right now, though,
I think the past year is really the only window of time where it was realistic. Because like 5 years ago, it takes so long to build an application that the feedback cycles or it's a super high cost to get some feedback. It's not realistic now because you can build so quickly. You can develop the requirements much more efficiently.
Yes.
So now is the right time.
I 100% agree. It couldn't have really been done. Even a year ago, it was still pretty jank. We didn't have MDK that was focused on this. I think the time is perfect. It's making me super bullish on Nostr and Bitcoin Lightning. Also, to that point, I think this solves a major, major problem that the Bitcoin community has faced, which is, again, for autists by autists. We have extremely smart people that are like, our protocol devs are as good as it gets in the world, but our application devs are the worst. But now with Replit, I mean, it's just
sorry to Hivemind's portfolio companies.
I mean, with some exceptions, Stacker News is amazing. Fountain is really good, but the fact that we have like 5 good apps after 5 years, come on now. And so but now vibe coding will fix that. And so what I think is amazing, I want to make a recommendation, and I will be reaching out to all of the Hivemind portfolio companies like Albi. I mean, MDK is already there. Breeze, Lightspark, Lightning Labs, all of them, if they want to win and make money, should get involved with the vibe coding in the community and see what, to your point, we've all been developing these like theoretical worlds without having any real world pressure to say, it's like, well, I think application devs need this thing in the protocol. We have no idea. But now if you're in there, and if any of you guys are listening, if I've invested in you, please get involved with this. You're going to find your users here and they're going to tell you what you actually need to build. That's awesome.
Yeah, all of technology is kind of like, infrastructure, bootstraps, apps, bootstraps more infrastructure, bootstraps more apps. And I think we've had a lot of building in the infrastructure side and not enough pushing on the app side. So if part of what Flint can do is encourage more application building, which puts pressure, like Steve was saying, on the infrastructure side to figure out what's actually going to be used and what would be needed and what kinds of enhancements would be used by applications, then applications that couldn't have been built before can now be built.
DK, anything else, or Matt Belez, if you're listening and you want to type a response, anything else important to mention on Flint that we haven't yet?
Yeah, I mean, on the Flint stuff, like I've said before, I think Matt being a little bit of the instigator here is really valuable because you can see in the website design, like the person who put this together actually cares.
It's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. It's very carefully worded. And I think it's that I've said before, game recognized game. So when you see that website, you're like, I'm going to come here and do some really good work. And I was going to just reference an anecdote. I got a text from, was it Steve or Matt this morning? And they're like, hey, we're going to put this thing out. Can you make your app, can you make an icon for your app? It should just be like, 5 minutes. I was like, yeah, I know that making an icon, a good one, is not going to be just 5 minutes, but let me do this. So I get up and it's like 6, 7 a.m. and I got down to the app and I started adding more polish and improving the documentation, and then making a icon that I'm actually proud of now, which I wouldn't have done just for my own use, but I did because the taste bar that Matt is encouraging and sort of the taste bar that the Firewood and Gallery encourages. So I think just like, as much as I care about my own projects and my own work, I feel already the uplift to be better and to show off and make it a better version of what I'm doing, because I know there's going to be more eyes on it. So just wanted to, again, shout out that like one of the best things is Matt has great taste and Flint has great taste. And the people who come in, we're going to just keep encouraging that taste level to increase.
Yeah, it's amazing.
100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well done, guys.
Good job, Matt.
Good job, Matt. Really, really, really well done. And seriously, if there's some way you can share, like, I understand you still did Figma and web dev, but like aspirationally, like helping someone design, even if it start like a simple website like that. And I mean, I know it's not simple, but a website, just like website, like a video, a guide, something like, how do you go from like, I don't know anything to I want a nice, like, here would be an interesting project. And by the way, I think there's like an interesting demographic. I know we want to expand and get into the whole world, and we're going to do that. But I was thinking about this for MDK. So Nick, if you're listening, and then Matt as well, one interesting demographic to start with is like, even though we don't want to like focus on Bitcoin, there are a lot of people in the community who really like Bitcoin and find it, for whatever reason, really amazing, and are frustrated because they can't really contribute. We've talked about some of these people are out there now spreading the good word of Satoshi to sign up Square to accept Bitcoin payments. But like, I think a really cool, like I could even imagine like a challenge, like, it could be create your first app, or even just like something simple, like just even like remove that like friction of like, here's something you can do. Create your own personal webpage. Vibe code it, make it look nice. How do you just create a simple personal webpage and maybe have a tip jar or something on there that uses Bitcoin? Yep. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the best idea, like it's the personal website, but like there are a lot of people out there who would probably put in a few hours if there were a challenge, a guide that can like at least show you from zero to completion on something that looks beautiful. So you feel like, oh, it's within like, maybe I could actually do something that approaches that.
Yep.
And a personal website would be really nice, I think.
I think it's a great starting point. Almost you could almost imagine if you otherwise are thinking about signing up to like a Squarespace, or what was the other one? Effectively, I've messed with Squarespace for some projects, and it always kind of it does what it does, and it's okay at it. It's like it gets it out there, but it's so restrictive of what you can do that your hands feel very tied. And I think if you were to say, if you wanted to build a Squarespace or maybe Webflow website, instead vibe code the website, and then you have full control to improve it. You can change the design to do whatever you want. You're not inside like quite the sandbox that you are when you're working with the kind of traditional kind of no code, low code tools.
Totally. And then you could do, if you're really into Bitcoin or Nostr, maybe you could try and have a cool feature on there. Like I will tell you that is exactly the situation I'm in, where like literally to publish that energy essay I did last time, I had to like berate my designer to get on a call with me and be like, no, sit down, publish this thing. It is not working. Like Webflow, have you guys used Webflow?
I haven't.
It's horrible. Just absolutely horrible. And we were on WordPress before, which was only mildly horrible. But he uses Webflow. So we would switch off of WordPress, which I didn't like, but at least it was open so I could figure it out enough. Anyways, all that to say, yeah, just like destroy the old web industry, please.
Just to
the problem with building things is that you're always dealing with something that's broken. Like if it's not broken, then it's done, and you move on to something that is broken.
Yeah.
I just checked to see how our live launch is going.
How's it going?
I still love the concept, but the results are not there yet. So we have 0 people have replied to the Spiral tweet. 0 people have replied to Matt Belez's tweet.
0.
And our number of live views on X for this show is 10 times less than normal. 72 right now. Usually we have 500 to 1,000 viewers live, and it's 72. So I don't know.
I'll show you able to see like what we got on YouTube like that. What's going on? Is today like a holiday or something?
Well, it's a holiday weekend, so maybe people left early. I don't know. But anyway, don't worry. We actually we don't want to admit like 1,000 people right now into the community because we want to like set the tone and grow. So that's fine. I think we succeed by because we already have half or like 6 or 8 people already vetted in the community. We just need to build great apps, publish them, and build the brand that way, build awareness that way, and it can be organic throughout this year.
Cool. I like it.
One thing I was gonna, I know we've spent most of the hour so far talking about Flint, but I guess in the broader context of vibe coding, Bitcoin and Nostr. But before we move off Flint, I think there was a goal that, if I recall, it was part of the website. Is that true, Steve? And can you confirm or remind us what the overall goal is? Like, how would we judge success? When do we decide if Flint?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. But the overall mission, the overall, like, did we achieve success? Is there actually like a very popular application built from the Flint community in the world? And obviously we're nowhere near that yet, but that would be success. And there's all kinds of steps to get there. There's goals to get there. Yeah. Let me pull up the goal. I think I mentioned some of the goals already.
So there was one overarching goal. Yeah, that one sounds like what I was thinking.
That was that's the overarching one.
If there's one breakout app and breakouts defined.
Let me log in through Discord, not Nostr.
Yeah, fuck that. That old world sounding.
Goals. All right, here we go. To build compelling products that show what's now possible. Number 2, to help and learn from peers to elevate our game. Number 3, to inspire a new generation of builders. Number 4, to see new businesses created as a result of our community. Number 5, to grow usage of Bitcoin in new and interesting ways. And number 6, to discover new demand for and gaps in emerging protocols. That's kind of what I mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's our 6 goals. But we're gonna have new. This is all from Matt and DK and me. But we're gonna have new, smart, ambitious, new people and new ideas. So we'll keep iterating and keep improving.
Sweet. All right. My personal goal is to get something on there. I don't know how long it's gonna take me. But one day.
All right, get your application in.
Well, I'm going to be getting you to be my personal tutor on this thing.
All right.
Wasn't this is the big topic I cared about. I know you guys have some other stuff. I think I think maybe
Alpha.
I think Max has things he's excited about.
Should we start there? I've got 2 big ones. I guess they're kind of related. You want to start with the alpha?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, or you can set up the context for it. I watched the clip. You shared a Saylor clip that I think he was on What Bitcoin Did, and you had a clip that you shared, right?
Well, I didn't share it. Steve shared it. He was being a fanboy. Steve was saying,
as he always is, yeah.
My doppelganger is talking in. I love it.
Over that guy.
Yeah, like wish you guys would be a little less critical of him all the time. Like, have you noticed how handsome he looks?
Together.
That's what I recall. Is that right, Steve?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think on this show, I have to wear the hat of being a critic of Saylor because you two
just to
sometimes fawn over him.
Okay. Well, so let me set it up a little bit because I think it gets into the 2 topics I want. So I want to talk a bit about what I've learned from Saylor in general, particularly on the collateral piece, which I think is very interesting, and then move that into the GPU marketplace discussion, which I hope is like a longer term discussion we continue to build on. But I think it's very related. So, so the clip Steve shared, some other people had shared, it's like, admittedly, Saylor's being a little bit of a dick to Danny on What Bitcoin Did and giving him a hard time about asking about the treasury companies and whatnot. Was it necessary for him to be mean? Probably not. Was he right? Yes. That's my takeaway. And so what have I learned? First of all, I just want to say, backing up and taking out the 10,000 foot view, the more I really listen to Saylor, and I've listened to a lot of his podcasts, and I'm not doing this as a fanboy of like, he's the Bitcoin guy. Fuck yeah. Like there was, by the way, on Wave Lake way back in the day, I remember I tried to show that to people, and like the #1 song and there was people singing a sea shanty to Michael Saylor, and it was super weird, super weird. And like, yeah, I'm not a cult fan of him, but you say game recognized game. I see a great mind, a truly great mind. And every time I listen to him, I learn something new. And by the way, forget the clip where he was being a little rude. And again, that doesn't excuse being rude. Like it's probably not necessary. But at the end of the episode, he talks about books that he's read, like history books. And there's the Will Durant, like a World History, 11 volumes, and Murray Rothbard's Economic Histories. Talk about up my game. I'm like, shit, I really need to be reading those. His understanding of cycles in world history and how things go, like how there's nothing new under the sun. We just kind of rinse and repeat. It's a little different every time because it's more of a spiral than a circle because you have new technology, but it's always rhyming. And, one example he gave
spiral.
Coincidence? No such thing. that he was just kind of mentioning the point that the Bitcoin community is always like 1971, like that was the year everything went crazy. And he was like, dude, there have been 1971s all the time. Like the story of every civilization and every sub-civilization is someone gets in power, they get a little too much power, they get a little too full of themselves, they think they can just like make something out of nothing. And in the case of, what we always talk about, hey guys, let's just print some money. And he talks about, the colonies, like I think that's Massachusetts Bay Colony and all the early colonies. That's also my mind because I've been watching that fabulous Revolutionary War thing. Ken Burns, it's really excellent. I recommend it. Anyways, and he was just like, there was like over a 20 or 30 year period, like multiple times when a single colony tried to debase the currency multiple different times over a 20 to 30 year period to go fund a war. And every time, of course, ended in fail because of every time you can't just make something out of nothing. Right. So that was like a really interesting takeaway for me. And just, like basically how like the more you can like spot where we are in the history rhyme, the better you can sort of plan for things. Okay. So that's just me saying like, I like him for the reason that he has a great mind. I really, really believe that. And I am impressed by his breadth of reading, knowledge, and history.
What new did you learn?
So the new thing that I've learned is, increasingly, it's something that I've learned a little bit more and more. I think it just keeps hitting me in the head from every podcast I listen to him, is thinking about where we are in the adoption cycle. Okay. And, it doesn't mean you can't push things in the margins like we've talked about. And I obviously want Bitcoin to be money. And I think it's great that we're pushing for it in so many different ways. And we can probably influence that a bit. But ultimately, what I've come to realize from Saylor that I talked about at the end of last podcast as well, is if you zoom out and you take off what you want to be true about the world and you just see what is true about the world, what we know is that Bitcoin payments have not taken off yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean we can't help. But what we do know is Bitcoin is collateral. And if you understand the broader financial ecosystem and how the world actually works and how it might work in the future, you can start to see where that collateral really starts to matter. And like, as
real quick though, I mean, first of all, I'm an enormous believer in Bitcoin as collateral.
Right.
But I wouldn't say it's taken off yet either. I think the problem is it'll take off sooner than payments, but
what's the MicroStrategy market cap right now? Like pretty massive, I would say. Whatever. I can go and look. And yes, it's still in the early stages of takeoff. What I'm increasingly realizing that.
What do you mean by collateral though? I was thinking like you use it as collateral for a loan.
Well, you can use it for collateral for lots of things, right? So we've seen it definitely take off as collateral for like consumer lending. And every time that's happened, there's been re-up obligations blowing up. That's why we invested in Lava. Fingers crossed. We don't see that happen again now. But what he's basically realizing is like, he made this point where he was like, listen, instead of going to all the banks of the world, and he made this point, he was like Morgan Stanley or whatever, I think it was, funded the Civil War. Like, probably not going to go and just like upend power structures that old. Every once in a while, maybe, but probably not. And instead of going and saying, I've got this new bank and y'all should come bank with me or whatever, he's like, how do I take what I've found, which is this incredible, pristine digital capital, refine it into a form of collateral or credit that they can use to be successful? And one thing that he said that really stuck with me is the world is built on capital, but it runs on credit. And so what I think he's realizing here is the big, put aside what we want to see about the world, the really, really big business opportunities measured purely in total volume or total profit, is if you can go and take that old dying world structure and supercharge it with collateral and credit that are backed by Bitcoin, then you will make the most money. And so what I'm realizing is, I'm starting to intuitively understand better what he's doing when he means stripping volatility. He is speculative attacking the old world treasury market, which is crazy to me, by offering stretch. Stretch is the key, this 11% yield that all you have to believe if it's 6x over collateralized by Bitcoin is that Bitcoin's not going to drop whatever it is, 85, 90% for 4 years or whatever that period is. That's all you have to believe, which I think we all clearly do. And if you do believe that, then like you would be a fool not to buy the product that gives you 11% or, maybe it comes down 10%, 9% versus 3% or 4% in the old world. Like, it's just like, it's like so black, white, right? That's all you have to believe. And so increasingly
it's not so black and white. It's more gray because
why?
Because why do you buy 11% yield if you believe Bitcoin is going to return 30 or 40% for the next 10 or 20 years? Why would you buy 11% yield?
because you have to meet the old existing world structure where it is. And I think this is his genius. Like, this is one of his grand insights.
It's a bridge, yeah.
I feel like I'm getting more mature listening to Saylor. Like, younger me would have been like, no, fuck it. We're just going to like upend everything, flip the tables. Here we come, Bitcoin, everything. And it's like, maybe, but like realistically, what's going to happen is we're going to say old world structure. First of all, and increasingly, this is why I understand why I think he's frustrated some Bitcoiners. It's like, you don't even want that world. Like, it sounds romantic and like a libertarian Ayn Rand fantasy. But like, if you go and flip all the tables, do you want to live in Mad Max? Probably not. Like as much as we say the government is bad, the state is bad, power structures are bad, it's like, you know what's even worse? A power vacuum where all of a sudden you got people riding around with like whatever rifles and shit. So
to put simply though, like to answer the question, why stretch over buying Bitcoin?
Yeah.
People have different needs, right? And and I'll get someone just asked, do you own Stretch Max? You don't have to answer that, but I'll speak to
all of the Bitcoin he owns is Stretch.
ETFs only.
Yeah, but like a treasury, like so the money that Presidio Bitcoin has on hand.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a belief in Bitcoin. There's a belief in like 30% returns or whatever. But there's actual needs for dollars. We have liabilities in dollars in, you know, weeks, months type of time frame. So we don't want to be all in on Bitcoin. We need something less volatile. So some of it is in Bitcoin and some of it is in Stretch.
Yes.
So Presidio Bitcoin does hold Stretch.
And to give you, so the bigger pools of capital, which we've talked about, is, we all know someone who's very involved with that company because he can't buy Bitcoin at his giant public equity fund. He just can't. And so there's, I forgot we did the numbers last time, but like, what is like a third of the world's capital is sitting in like public equity funds or something huge that can't buy that. A third is sitting in the debt funds or whatever. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but like the point is like really, really, really big slugs of capital.
Yeah, there's capital pools that are locked up with mandates.
That are locked up with
mandates, and they have to they have to play within that mandate. And so those mandates are sticky.
Yes.
And that's what creates the opportunity to create products that fit in those mandates.
Correct.
And so like the thing that I would say about MicroStrategy that I think is interesting is that like it just understands how the world is structured today.
Yes.
And where its mandates are. And then it provides products that fulfill those mandates, even if you don't fully get to self-custody your Bitcoin because of the mandate of the capital pool that you're managing.
And I would say there's also sort of a gradation of that, right? I think there are some people that, maybe are super orange pilled, sitting and managing, billions, if not trillions of dollars that are locked up in funds that can't buy Bitcoin. Okay. So that's one area you go after. And then there's also people like, let's say on the middle of the curve that are like, they think it's interesting. It's probably not going to zero. Are they ready to sell their kidney? Probably not. But like, would they like some exposure? Yeah. Like I guess like there's different people at different stages on their Bitcoin journey with different mandates. And critically, those people manage much larger pools of capital than, we as the general public, frankly, even like realize exists. And I think what Saylor's superpower is he's kind of the, the elder statesman in the room that for whatever reason, he's still on the edge with technology and he understands why Bitcoin is amazing. And he's been, frankly, old enough and been through the traditional world enough that he understands that world extremely well. And he's building a bridge between the new and the old. And by sitting on that bridge and building that bridge, and I thought it's very instructive. People always ask, well, what's next? What are you going to do with all this Bitcoin? He's like, dude, you don't understand. Like, if I can bring 10% of the world's bond market to me, I am making whatever it is, trillions of dollars a year in revenue with basically no cost. So it's almost pure profit. It would be the single greatest business of all time. Now, I think the AI businesses can overcome that. And I think that's a separate conversation. I think, by the way, there's risk that maybe he's not even fully buying into, which is the black swan risk of like AGI, super intelligence take off. And that's its own really interesting conversation that we should discuss.
You're saying that we no longer need money.
I mean, that's a possibility
So
from your favorite dude you fawn over, but
I wouldn't say that he was wrong if that's the case. If we don't need money, then like the whole thing, it's just like a waste of time, right?
Right. But again,
you're not sad at the end of that path.
What I want to come back to and just say on that is like, I think what a lot of Bitcoiners miss is, this dude, put aside the way he communicates it, which could probably be a little nicer sometimes, but this dude understands the old world and he knows how to build that bridge and he knows what they need. And I think he said something really nice, which is instead of fighting the old world, empower them to win and win a big chunk. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. I've always thought of Bitcoin as a tool of alchemy for selfishness and self-interest to sort of communal interest. It's a way to get people to say, hey, instead of me just taking your shit, which is kind of the history of like power and war and world, it's like, let me make you an equity holder in the same thing I'm an equity holder in, and let's win really big together.
Yeah. And Bitcoin is ultimately equity for the whole world.
Exactly.
It's for the whole world's needs and demands.
It's an equity of the entire world's capital stock.
I think so I didn't watch the whole episode, but I only watched that one clip that I think was quite contentious. But what I've learned something new from that clip, which I think I changed my mind about in the last year or so, which is I had thought of MicroStrategy as like effectively the leader and kind of the dominant player in the Bitcoin treasury thing, and that sort of all the others are sort of ankle biters and, you know, sort of competitors in a sense. And I think he articulated there that it's not a competition, it's more of a collaboration. So it's effectively that same point you're making. He didn't quite say it as eloquently as I think we've come up here, which is sort of, you know, some sort of like a equity in the world's future and all of the economic output of the world. But I think that's what he's scratching at here when he talks about MetaPlanet being not a competitor, but a collaborator. So I've changed my mind on that.
So I still don't get that. So you're gonna have to help me. Now, we talked about in the show before, there's a couple different types of treasury strategies.
Yeah.
We called it the strategy one and the block one, right? Yeah. Because both strategy and block introduced Bitcoin on their balance sheet within a month of each other in 2020.
Yeah.
I think most people know what strategy is, like leverage, like smart calculated leverage, but leverage. Whereas the block strategy is like put 1 to 10% of your treasury in Bitcoin as like a hedge. And those two have very different dynamics. Yep. So I totally believe in a world of we're all in this together. Let's invest in each other, like the same equity or whatever. If every company puts 1 to 10% of its treasury, or frank, I mean, even up to 100% of the treasury in Bitcoin, I don't see that they're not competing. Like if Tesla's doing that, SpaceX and Block, that doesn't like increase the competition between these companies just because they're holding Bitcoin balance sheet. However, if every company is levered over 100%, they're introducing all these securities like Stretch, etc., then they're absolutely competing with each other. And I've argued from the first episode of this show that it makes no sense for Facebook to do this, like Max was arguing, and I
still think it does.
Well, it makes no sense to me. So it makes no sense. Yeah. B, I don't think every company can do it. I think only one or a handful can. And C, they're absolutely competing with each other. So help me understand how that's.
So Steve, I'm team Steve on this point and have been for a long time, basically since episode 1, which is I don't think Facebook should just go all in Bitcoin because they have a great business or potentially great business. You know, it has existed for a while.
They could do better with Bitcoin too.
Well, sure. But that's not what people are investing in. They're investing in, are they going to figure out AI? That is the question.
And also, Facebook, when you say they do better in Bitcoin, what do you mean by that? Do you think they should be levered on Bitcoin, or do you think should they adopt the strategy or the block strategy?
Okay, so let me answer that by saying, and look, I get what you're saying, and if your point is for a company specifically in the AI race that having anything to do with Bitcoin is going to detract from their ability to get capital to build energy infrastructure, which, by the way, that's where I want to go. We're probably not going to have time to the GPU marketplace deeply today, but like, look at who Meta's been hiring yesterday. Look at Daniel Gross's post on Twitter for what he wants. It's trading markets, energy infrastructure. So like, okay, fine. I'm willing to see that point. If get any touching of Bitcoin, which by the way, I think they'll have to soon. That's my big idea now, will detract from their ability to win that race. Fine. What I would say, Steve, to your point is, and this is what I wanted to get at earlier that I learned new from the Saylor podcast, is there's not just the Saylor strategy and the block strategy. I think there's an infinite number of strategies in between. That's what I'm seeing more and more. So what he said yesterday, now, I would, obviously evaluate every treasury company independently. Most of them I think are probably run by teams I would not personally invest in, right? For sure. That's my decision as an investor. But we've already decided, does it make sense, as an example, for MetaPlanet to exist as alongside strategy? For sure, because they're in a trapped capital market Japan.
Yep.
Saylor's not there.
Exactly.
So okay.
We all agree.
exactly.
We all agree on that, though. Yeah.
So the next thing that I learned from his podcast was that there are going to be infinite opportunities, and he rattled off like 10 of them, of where you can use better capital to offer a better product. So he's going after capital to credit. Because I know DK loves that.
I didn't think we were going to make it through this segment without an impression or two. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's for you. But what he also mentioned is there's other businesses where pristine digital capital or credit could make you a winner as well. One example is insurance. We're going to see an insurance company, and I bet, no insider info, whatever, but I think NYDIG's already pretty big in insurance. Wouldn't be surprised if they're the big winner there, ultimately, of figuring out how you can use having perfect, pristine collateral to underwrite cheaper policies or better policies. So there will be insurance companies that use Bitcoin.
And I don't think MicroStrategy is going to go after that.
He literally said that. People get whatever riled up listening to be whatever. Listen to what he says. He gave 10 ideas for a company. The problem is they're not ideas that we as Silicon Valley computer buildery type people are used to.
Financial
ideas.
Right?
But my point,
those are real things you do.
Well, what I'm learning increasingly from learning from Saylor, and again, everyone has to make their own decision. Are you or I the right person to start that company? Absolutely not. Our efforts are much better spent doing things that are increasing, in my case, more on the energy side lately with builder stuff. Great. So everyone's doing their part. But what I'm increasingly learning from Saylor is, if you just want to make money, put everything else aside, you just want to make money, go where the opportunity is ready. Is it ready for payments yet? No, we're trying to get there. We're betting on that future. We're trying to make it happen. What it is ready for is for people to say, if I have better capital, I can underwrite better financial products. So all kinds of loans, consumer lending, corporate lending, the treasury market, real estate development.
We've talked to companies doing that. So, but I'm still trying to understand how they're not competitive. And I'm actually interested in, since Deacon and I seem aligned.
I think we're mostly I don't think
Block
is a Bitcoin treasury company, even if they hold some Bitcoin treasury. I think that's
I would agree with that too. I'm not
company that's not structured in the Bitcoin treasury style.
But help me understand how 21 is not a competitor to strategy.
I think it's unrealistic to say not a competitor, but just that there's more collaboration than there might be in a traditional business. So is Google a competitor to Facebook and vice versa? Are they? I would say they're pretty directly competitive. Do they ever collaborate? Maybe at the margin on some little initiatives, but they basically don't collaborate. They compete.
Let's use Apple. Could we use Apple and Google as an example?
Well, it's thornier because of the recent, the
not even the recent
history
stuff.
deal and
It's very,
years of surge,
billions of dollars of partnership.
It's Apple saying we're not going to develop a search engine. We'll get paid all the value as if we had developed it.
Or we can't.
How do 21 and strategy partner or help each other?
I think they help each other because they each own a lot of Bitcoin, and their stated mission is to own more Bitcoin. They have different ways to go about that. And I think the strategy way to go about that is they probably have some huge sales force out there selling the digital credit product to various people. And my guess is that the CEP, whatever the 21 company, is not going to hire a team of people to go out and sell digital credit. They're trying to build products that generate cash flows, and those cash flows will either be received or converted into Bitcoin, and that will be the basis of a lot of their treasury.
What will be their business model to support leverage?
So
200% Bitcoin.
Let me try and answer that, because I thought Saylor said something really good yesterday, and I want to be clear. Barris, is it Barris that made that point? Or no, Matt made the last one, which is good. He says, ignores what he's saying. It works in theory, but ignores the reality of the treasury companies today. That may or may not be true. A lot of the people that are starting treasury companies, to me, are definitely giving off Carlos Matos vibes. And I would probably, for those of you who remember, I know Steve always likes, I'm gonna, hey, what's up?
Wow, you got a lot of impressions.
Treasury Connect. Yes. Thank you, Carlos.
I think Max should be on SNL.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm gonna agree with that. And would I put my own personal money in most of these guys? Hell no. I agreed. But what he makes is a structural point. I'm also not going to like badmouth them because we don't know what they're going to do in the future, right? So his point is, and he made this point actually, I thought eloquently. If you put your money in an ETF or trust, they are legally obligated to just hold the Bitcoin and that's
Right.
it. Cool. They can't do other stuff. What he's saying is, if you're an early adopter and you have a secret about the world, and the secret is the old monetary system is crap and dying, and the new monetary system is going up 20, 30% CAGR, you now have a secret, which you may not even know exactly what you want to do today. It's like, in angel investing, we back founders because, they have maybe some general secret about the world, which they're exploring. And we're kind of like, yeah, we're going to bet that you're going to be the team to figure out how to exploit that in the future. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. Similarly, these guys have realized a secret about Bitcoin and we don't know what they're going to do to structure the products. But his point is, because they're operating companies, they can take this secret, they can take this, radioactive, super uranium, which is Bitcoin. And like, if they're smart, which they may or may not be, they'll figure out how to structure new real estate companies. They'll figure out how to structure new insurance companies. They'll figure out how to basically just take any old business in the old financial world, derivatives companies, anything that made a lot of money, go and look at how, hey, if we were collateralized or capitalized by hard money rather than something that can be debased, you're going to win. That's his point. Now, I will also say, to your point, Steve, 21 specifically, I don't know any of their details, so I can't say. But if they are trying to sell the exact same product the MicroStrategy is trying to sell, obviously I think MicroStrategy is going to win. So they're probably going to be number 2. But even then, I would say they're not, they are competitive in a sense, but they're also not that competitive, because he makes another great point, which is the world is relationship based. And so, in the same way, if you're looking for a banker, it's like, both Silicon Valley Bank, well, they used to exist, and First Republic, they both used to exist before the financial system started crumbling. But the point is, why would you choose one or the other? Well, maybe you have a friend there. You just like this guy. That's it. Literally the only deal is I like you, I trust you. And so there's always a room for relationship-based sales. I would not personally want to bet on that.
Right. But okay, but that still only affords a few companies,
sure.
not millions of companies around the world.
But there can be
millions. All levered with Bitcoin, all trying to sell to the same fund managers.
So
a fund manager doesn't have enough time to talk to 100 million companies.
So that's the critical distinction. There is room for millions of companies levered on Bitcoin selling different products. If they're trying to sell the same treasury-like instrument or stretch-like instrument, they're going to probably lose a strategy.
But how can there be? I'm not imaginative enough to understand how millions of companies could be levered on Bitcoin selling securities products.
Well,
I don't think it's just going to be securities products. I think there's all kinds of products, and that's what we have to figure out what they are.
What's an example?
What's a regress to something like a block?
What's a non Wall Street company example that would be levered with their Bitcoin and selling a product to people?
I think
the insurance example he gave is a good one.
I call
that
Wall Street though. Let's take Hoka.
State Farm Insurance.
Nike.
You're saying State Farm Insurance is a Wall Street company?
Well,
yeah. They're financial.
Walk us through
financial, but
Nike. Why would Nike have 200% Bitcoin? And what product are they selling to support that to be sustainable?
But this is my point. Okay, so I think we should continue. I think it's good that we're having this dialogue. I feel like the Ben Arc episode now with dialectics. We're going through our dialectics right now. To be clear, yet we are probably at the phase of adoption where financial products are where this is going to work. If you're Nike, the block strategy probably makes sense. And you probably, unless you realize I can make so much more money selling insurance as Nike than I could being Nike, which they're probably not going to do for a variety of reasons. So to be clear, I don't think we're at that stage.
So then that suggests every company in the world becomes a financial company. And
well, I think Pierre Rochard made that point. Again, if you believe.
But what if I want to buy a pair of shoes?
Well, so again, I think it depends on what you as a company, as a manager of a company want to do, what your goals for that company are, how much baggage you have. If you come into something point blank, you're like, I just want to make the most money humanly possible. One way to do that is probably AI, but there's only 4 companies that matter there. So you're probably already out. And I think this is Saylor's point. It's almost every company in the S&P 500, or certainly every company that's a public company. If you're not an AI company, and maybe a few very special companies like Nike, but even Nike, honestly, do I think they would the world be better off if we all of a sudden lost all of our shoes? I would argue that.
Well, what does the actual future look like in the shoe business? It's probably not Nike building one shoe and selling it to 1 million people. it's probably you getting some custom robot to make you a shoe that perfectly fits you. And it almost like the brand concept is, do I have the robot with the raw ingredients and the tool that designs it for my foot to
Sure, but
give me like the best
sure,
thing?
but that's still not a financial, like levered financial product.
Yeah. So
like the
I
world,
think we're all agreeing.
it makes no sense that every company in the world's only going to sell financial products. That makes no sense.
Well, so
I don't even understand.
Let's play
what we're talking about.
No, but hold on, but let's play that out because I think it's a very important point. Like, if you want to stay in your old operating business or do new operating businesses, something close to the block strategy makes sense. Although even for block, I would push back and say, why didn't y'all put even more in?
But again, to me, the division is up to 100% and over 100%.
Yes.
So sure, you can critique, should block put more in.
It's not a critique.
Even block, like leveraging could make sense, but it's a financial company.
Yes.
So most companies in the world are not financial companies, and the world needs all those services.
100%.
They evolve over time. So we go from like, Cambodia producing shoes to robots producing shoes. But like things evolve, but most industries are not financial.
No, but
the AI and the energy. I mean, it's,
okay. You guys have to understand what I'm saying, because I'm looking at Matt saying I'm depressing him with this fiat talk as well. You guys have to understand. You have to see the big picture. Like, I'm not saying everyone should do this, and if you want to stay in operational business, yes, buy Bitcoin 100% or less. The point is, and I think Pierre Rochard has made this point very, very well, we're in the early stages of the speculative attack on the dollar. Like, I believe in hyper Bitcoinization, right? So what I think is happening is, if you had every company in the world realize I can make more money as a financial company selling some financial product backed by Bitcoin, all of a sudden you would, and first of all, it's never going to happen because there's so many people that would not believe that, and the requirements would be so heavy. But all of a sudden what would happen is the market would reprice, right? Like, everyone did that, and they all started buying Bitcoin, and they all started selling these new products. What you would do is you would accelerate the hyper Bitcoinization, probably take the price of Bitcoin well into the millions of dollars. And in that process, you would like saturate and take out of business the other insurance companies. Again, I'm not naive enough to think this would ever happen overnight. This is a many decade long process. But like, then once Bitcoin is many millions of dollars a coin, you've already put out of business all the old world fiat companies, or Bitcoin, hyper Bitcoinize them from the inside. Then it starts making sense to sell old world things like shoes.
Typically, just to respond to Matt's comment there, I do not want to see 200 million companies levered on Bitcoin. I think it's asinine. It makes absolutely no sense. That is my position.
And I want to be clear, like, look, everyone makes their own decision. I'm not saying the leverage is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying see reality clearly and understand that for any company selling things like derivatives, insurance, credit, any of those companies, they would be able to offer better rates and a better product if they had Bitcoin as their collateral than not. That's it.
But let me ask.
Some companies will do that, but for every 100 million companies to do it makes no fucking sense.
Let me ask an abstract question, which I already have an opinion on, but just wanted to ask it in the abstract. Is like, do you believe there are any changes happening in the world that may shift the balance of power away or toward labor and from capital?
Like what, DK? What possibly could you mean?
I mean, is there a shift underway? Would you say there is a shift or there's not a shift?
So there 100% is a shift. And in fact, this is the thing I've been obsessing over, and I'm not going to out it because I've been reading my friend's book on this. I would say it's a modern day Das Kapital, the best thing I've ever read on modern economic thought, which makes the argument that capital and labor are in fact becoming the same thing, which is just fun. Their new fungible markets are emerging between capital and labor, and it's just electricity. It's just electricity either way. That's what AI is doing. And I would argue, since we're not going to have enough time to get to it today, I'm going to tease this for the future GPU marketplace discussion. The really big idea, the idea I'm obsessing over. And if someone else is putting this out into the ether, thinking about this idea as well. And to be clear, I don't want to fund these like financial gains companies either. I don't find them interesting. They're going to make a shit ton of money, and God bless the people that want to play the insurance game. It's not what I'm interested in. What I am interested in, though, is figuring out how the robots use collateral and figuring out how to bank the robots. That's my teaser.
Good teaser. Can't wait.
We will talk about it next week then.
All right. Have a good
weekend,
guys.
Have a good weekend.
Peace, y'all.
See ya.